Audrey here.
Okay, YouTube is loading right now, and then I'll record, and then you may begin.
Good.
Meeting is being recorded.
Day. Thank you for joining us for our regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. And this is set for January 9th, 2024. I hope everybody had a great New Year's and Happy New Year to everybody online, our GHURA staff,
Happy New Year.
our legal counsel, Board of Commissioners, and our executive staff. Thank you for joining us once again. The time is...
Meeting is being recorded.
Our time is 12:03 p.m. here at the Guam Housing Urban Renewal Authority home office or headquarters, excuse me, in Sonoma. Okay, we will start with roll call. All right, we have 3 commissioners that are online. Commissioner Rice.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Corpus.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Delia.
Present.
Thank you. And Commissioner Ishizaki.
Present. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Chief. Thank you. All right, we have roll call in order. Item number 2, board meeting public announcements. First printing Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. Second printing Sunday, January 7th, 2024 as well.
This meeting is being recorded.
Come on, ready.
Do you want to add anything? Any other announcements? No. Madam Director, anything you would like to add to the public announcements?
None, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving along to item number 3, approval of previous board minutes for October 24th, 2023 and December 12th, 2023. I want to add to Ms. Kat, thank you for updating us on the revision of the previous board minutes.
And 2.1. 4.
And if anybody has any questions in regards to our previous board minutes, you all have the floor now. Right, seeing none, hearing none. Okay, thank you, commissioners. Can I get a motion to approve our previous board minutes, please?
I will make a motion to approve board minutes from Tuesday,
October 24th, 2023. And December
I'll second
12th.
that.
Mhm.
Thank you,
I'll second
Commissioner.
that.
And thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. All right, we take a vote. Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, item number 4, new business. Intend to award IFB number GHURA-23-20, website maintenance and development. Madam Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Nate. Intent of award IFB number GHURA-23-20, website maintenance and development. The bid opening for the subject project was held on September 25th, 2023 at 2:00 p.m. A total of 2 bidders registered for the bid and were given bid specifications, of which 1 submitted a bid. Listed below are the results of the bid submissions, which were opened and read out aloud publicly. The 1 vendor that submitted a bid was 1-A Guam WebZ, WEBZ in caps, with a bid bond of $20,700, cashier's check, with the amount of $82,800, and it says 3 years / option 2. And the government estimate for the project was $72,360. The intent of this procurement is to provide information to the community regarding various programs, announcements, policies, advertisements, email and domain hosting, and job employment, to name a few. The website also allows the community to interact via our virtual receptionist, to participate in Section 8 lottery, complete and verify online housing applications, and make rental payments. All this is conducted with the highest standard of website accessibility, compliance, and security. In review of the bid result, 1-A Guam WebZ provided the lowest responsive and responsible bid. After further clarification, the committee members determined to proceed with the award. It also should be noted that we did submit request to HUD for the approval of the sole bid, and in your packet is included a letter dated December 1st, 2023 from Jesse Wu, the Director of Office of Public Housing in our Hawaii headquarters, and it was approving the request for the sole bid award. If you have any questions, we do have Mr. Sunny present. Or no, I think it's Miss Julie that would answer this. I'm sorry. Julie from our MIS department.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners, Vice Chair. If I just add a couple things, please. We've had a really great working relationship with, it's actually called Guam Webs. A couple things, they are very, very responsive when it comes time to any urgency or issues that we may have. Normally it's in less than a 2-hour response time. If we put urgent in the subject line, they usually respond like within less than an hour. They are extremely responsive in the fact that they are a 24/7 service and support provider. An excellent example though was their ability to handle the lottery. We've been with them for the last 5 years, and that's why we're doing this updated procurement. But one of our lotteries, we had 3,000 applications submitted in less than 1 day without a glitch. There was no relay issues. There was no problems with the throughput. They have the highest level of cybersecurity. We're just really appreciative of their efforts. They also do quite a bit of any design requests that we have. And that included the virtual receptionist, which eliminates an awful lot of the foot traffic. Applicants can apply online. We have job announcements. We have those mandated reports that go to the governor. So It's a very important tool that we have for the agency. And once again, they do perform in a high level standard of, they do perform in a high level of standard. But yeah, we're happy to recommend Guam Webs with your approval, of course. And I just wanted to add that unfortunately, there's not a lot of on-island vendors that support this type of work. There are some smaller companies. We did have a bad experience with one of our previous vendors. Although he was physically located here, his staff was located off island. And at one point, the staff, I think they were kind of boycotting or whatnot. They kind of shut down. Some of their people were on leave, and so we could not get the urgent support that we needed. So we really wanted to make that one of the criteria that they are supporting us with their staff as much as possible here on island. Again, it is a small group that provides this type of service, but as I mentioned, we work really well with them, and it's reflected in our website as well. So that's all I wanted to add, Board of Commissioners and Vice Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Julie. Appreciate that. Ms. Julie, I have a quick question, and thank you for giving us the history with Guam Webs. As a matter of fact, I know them as well. They're great quality and great service, and they really are a 24/7 operation, and they're locally present when we need them. Ms. Julie, just quick question. So the government estimate was 72,360. We're awarding it at 82,800. The difference of 10,004. If I may inquire, what's the difference going to be applied for? Just ongoing for the platform itself?
Yeah, well, my estimate was a bit low only because the last time that we did an estimate with them was, like I mentioned, over 5 years ago. So,
Sure.
you know, when I applied, you know, the cost of living and some other indexes, my price analysis unfortunately came out a little bit low. When you're trying to factor in that we had the typhoon, we had COVID, the lack of resources that are available, you know, the industry standard changes, you know, so that pricing keeps fluctuating and it's always higher. Unfortunately, that's where my mark was off by that large of an amount.
No, we appreciate the effort also and make sure that we're not spending more than we need to. So, but thank you though for that. Appreciate you as always.
Yeah, one other note on that price is that they do also host and provide us all the email licenses. And so thanks to everyone here, our staffing is growing. Originally, we were under 100 email addresses. Now we are way over at 135 because now we're including group email accounts that make it much more streamlined to communicate with our staff. We now recently have just included 100% of the entire agency, which includes our maintenance crew. So yeah, we just keep growing. So that was another point that I forgot to mention, that they do host our entire email system. It's great because it takes a lot of the effort out of MIS when we used to host everything. And now we can focus our efforts elsewhere.
Wonderful. So that outsourcing is definitely going to facilitate a much more manageable environment for your team, and
Absolutely.
have the Guam Webs, you know, again, facilitate and interface everything so it's streamlined better and most importantly, it's modernized. So, but thank you for the clarity. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome. Thank you, board members.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions for Ms. Lujan? Seeing none? Okay, may I get a motion, please?
I will make a motion to award IFD number GHURA -23-20 to is that I or 1-A Guam Webs?
Yeah, 1-A Guam Webs.
-A Guam Webs for website maintenance and development in the amount of $82,800.
Thank you, Commissioner. May I get a second on that, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Rice. May I show of hands, please?
Recording in progress.
1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you, commissioners. Motion passes. Moving
Thank you,
along.
board members. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Julie. We appreciate you and your team and extend our gratitude as well to them. Thank you.
Very good
Absolutely.
presentation.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify for the record, that was a show of hands in favor of.
Right, in favor of. Thank you. Thank you, Dee, for the clarity. Appreciate you.
Okay.
All right, item number 4.2. Intent of award, IFB number GHURA -23-18, railing replacement of 12 GHURA 83 units. Madam Director?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Intent of award for IFB number GHURA -23-18, railing replacement of 12 GHURA 83 units. Bid opening for the subject project was held on September 15th, 2023 at 2:00 p.m. A total of 3 contractors registered for the bid and were given bid specifications, of which 2 submitted a bid. Listed below are the results of the bid submissions, which were opened and read out aloud publicly. Contractor number 1 was Genesis Tech Corporation with a bid bond of $23,500, cashier's check.
This meeting
and,
is being recorded.
Gosh. And a base bid number 1 of $156,000. Contractor number 2 was OH Construction with a bid bond of 15% and base bid of $138,000. The government estimate was $122,688. The intent of the project is to replace the railing of 12 GHURA 83 units as per scope of work. Base bid 1 consists of the 12 units in GHURA 83 located in the villages of Umatic, Talafofo, and Inarahan. Replacing of rails includes, but is not limited to, cleaning common areas, carpentry, painting, plumbing, sewer replacement, and electrical work. A detailed scope of work is included in the bid documents for review. In review of the bid results, OH Construction provided the lowest responsive and responsible bid. They have been cleared by the Department of Labor Compliance, OSHA, and EPLS debarred list. See attached for verification. Based on AE staff's review and determination, we are requesting approval to issue the contract to OH Construction for the total amount of $138,000. Funding is available under the Capital Fund Program. If you have any questions, we do have Mr. Sunny for the A&E side and our Deputy Director for the Public Housing side.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Madam Director. Commissioners, lower the doors. If you have any questions or inquiries for Mr. Sunny, Madam Director, and our Deputy Director.
Can you just let me know what's a railing replacement? I mean, I'm thinking I know what it is, but then the definition, it goes to more than just a railing replacement, right? It's what is,
Well, there are some facilities that do have ADA, the ADA
oh, gotcha,
rails,
okay.
and those rails have gotten dilapidated.
This meeting is being recorded.
And corroded down to the point where they start popping.
Okay,
And they got sharp edges. And so the staff went out, did their inspection, identified those rails that required replacement before it starts to hurt anybody. And of course, if you do get hurt, you end up subjecting yourself to tetanus, possibly.
I think the added work is like for outside, let's say the railing and it's on the sidewalk, right? And let's say they have to mount it new, but there's plumbing pipe there, they have to move or electric wire. So it just adds in those other things as necessary to just get it done. Ultimately, it really is for the railing replacement. The scope will specify if any of those other needs would come up, but it's a qualification for the contractor to be able to do those things necessary to get the railing.
So it's preventative.
Yeah,
ultimately.
yeah, I
Yeah,
just
right.
didn't know how that tied into a railing.
Yeah, because if they do it,
Got the picture, right?
yeah,
Okay, let me just try to understand it, right?
yeah.
Sometimes we just need that GHURA, the Explorer, like explanation.
I'm like, I didn't realize all that tied into a railing.
The DD's correct.
Yes,
He's
okay.
correct that there was, because we are renovating some of the units, that the new ADA rules may kick in. And so whenever you touch the older railing, you're gonna have to rehab or renovate it to the newer standards. And sometimes those newer standards need to install
New.
new rails at certain places.
Thank you.
Where they weren't there.
Thank you, Mr. Sunny.
You're very welcome.
So I learned something too.
Oh, yeah, that's-
On the same page with you.
Because
Need a visual. Thank you.
I'm like, that's a lot for railing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners online, do you have any questions for Mr. Sunny or our directors?
I have no questions.
All right, seeing none. May I get a motion?
I will make a motion to award IMB GURA 23 18 railing replacement of 12 GURA, which is 83 units, to OH Construction in the amount of $138,000.
Thank you, Commissioner. May I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Rice. And now can we take a vote on that? Show of hands or say aye? 1, 2. Commissioner Corpus, is that your hand? Sorry. Can you hear me?
Thank
I keep cutting out here, so I'm trying to say my ball rate.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Corpus. 4. Show of hands, 4 votes. Resolution passes. Intent of award IFBB-GORA-23-18 railing replacement for 12 GORA 83 units to OH Construction in the amount of $138,000. Motion passes. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Deputy Director and Madam.
Hi, excuse me, Vice Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Ishizaki is having some connectivity problems.
Okay.
So, but he voted, messaged his vote.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving along. I'm
I don't know.
because we're having.
Would we be better to Alicia?
Yeah,
Just maybe reconduct the vote?
if you can get connected, I would recommend that.
Recommend that.
Yes.
That,
Yes,
okay.
we can address it when he gets back on, but the motion has passed though with the 4
With the
votes.
4.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, he's trying to get on, he's trying to join again. Commissioner Ishizaki, are you there? There you are.
Chief, can you hear us?
Can you see him?
Yes, we can see your,
Okay.
Audrey.
Would there be a motion to revote? on
Yes,
the issue?
Mr. Vice Chair, I would. You don't need to do another motion, but you can just confirm his vote on that.
Okay, I can do it now.
Yes.
So item number 4, number 2, intent of award IFB number GURA-23-18 railing replacement of 12 GURA 83 units to OH Construction in the amount of $138,000. The motion passes alongside with Commissioner Ijizaki's vote also taken into consideration and added to that vote.
Vote in favor.
In favor, right.
And for the record, Mr. Vice Chairman, it looks like Mr. Ishizaki is indicating in the affirmative by giving a thumbs up.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I confirm that as well. Thank you, team. Appreciate it. All right, moving along. Number 3, equitable adjustment, IFB number GHURA-09-266-2019-CDBG, construction of Lighthouse Recovery Center for Women, Teens, and Guam. And Madam Director, this is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Equitable adjustment number 1 for IFB number GHURA-09-26-2019-CDBG, construction of Lighthouse Recovery Center for Women, Tijan, Guam. Inland Builders has an ongoing contract for the construction of the Lighthouse Recovery Center for Women. AE staff and I, the Executive Director, Elizabeth F. Napoli, reviewed the request for equitable adjustment request and has concluded it to be reasonable to grant the adjustment. Cost analysis and justification. Labor at $162,037.87. Materials at $268,519.40. Bond/insurance costs at $45,051.40 for a total of $475,608.67. The original contract award amount for this project was $1,160,000. The adjusted contract award amount grew to $2,350,000. There changes approved. There was one, and the adjusted contract amount became $2,567,660. This equitable adjustment request is for $475,608.67, which then becomes an adjusted contract amount of $3,043,000 $268.67. Sorry, let me repeat that. $3,043,268.67. We are requesting board approval for an equitable adjustment and contract modification with Inland Builders Corporation in the amount of $475,608.67. And I know your packet included a letter dated November 27, 2023 from Inland Builders Corporation requesting the equitable adjustment with all the documentation for the request. And Mr. Sunny is present to maybe give a little bit more history and give a little bit more insight into the reason that after many meetings with Inland Builders, we determined that this equitable adjustment request was justifiable. So if you have any questions, we do have Sunny Paris, our AE manager, present, as well as myself and the deputy.
Thank you, Madam Director and Mr. Deputy. Ms. Audrey, could you put up the PowerPoint, please?
I guess while we're doing that, if I could just maybe for the benefit of the commissioners as well as the public, regarding what is an equitable adjustment. So GHURA, because we're federally funded, we use a standard form general terms and conditions contract based on the contract type and the contract size. In this particular one provides provisions for what's called an equitable adjustment. The main difference, and usually we see the word change order, they actually have very specific meanings. A change order is when we determine as the owner that we want to change the scope, and therefore we're ordering a change and we're going to pay for it. An equitable adjustment is a request from the contractor should a government action cause a change, an increase or decrease in the price, they request for equitable adjustment to change the contract amount, either up or down. In this instance, the request for equitable adjustment was relative to many of the government's actions and both starting from COVID and after.
Yes,
And so when the government institutes a shutdown, a mandatory shutdown of activity, this and that, those are all, even though we're GHURA and it's GovGuam, that's still considered a government action that would avail them to request for equitable adjustment. But the main burden that they had was proving how that tied into their cost increase, because it's based on time periods. So there's a pretty significant burden for them to go through that. And if you look on the footnotes, they reference many of the executive orders, and a lot of the first couple of pages highlight their justifications and narrative of how that played out.
yes, sir.
Which led up to today with a lot of work from A&E verifying all of those assertions made by the contractor and verifying them for reasonability and validation.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. That was pretty clear. Yeah, so, okay, so thank you again, commissioners, for allowing me to make this presentation. Hopefully I can make it as least painful as possible. Next slide, please, Ms. Audrey. Okay, as you can see that these are the summary categories and costs. First one is, of course, the request for equitable adjustment. There will be an incoming time extension request. Substantial completion has come and gone, and the project did appear substantially complete on December 15, 2023. We're looking at a contract completion, which is everything done by April 30th, 2024. Again, this is just an FYI. Whether or not it happens, I'd rather not go to the board for the stake on the ground and then have to move it again because something happens. Because right now, if you can see change order number 2, which will be incoming,
Mhm.
we would like to get that going. Unfortunately, there's no concrete on board. We're waiting for a concrete installment. And so that's holding up the sewer encasement, which is holding up the occupancy permit, which is also holding up the fencing installation. So it's just a domino effect when you don't have concrete available. So that is why I don't want to ask for the the contract completion date yet. It is just an FYI. Hopefully once the concrete gets installed and poured, we'll have a better idea where we're at. Okay? Because the concrete is also, next slide, please. Okay, these are progress pics. The building is completely painted, right? Inside and out. We do have the louvers that's also been painted, and those are baked on louvers. They're already installed. So the building envelope is ready for occupancy. What is holding up the project right now is that you will see later on is the concrete sewer encasement and the last pour for the generator building, which is located on the left-hand side of the picture on the left. It's a small concrete facility that houses the generator, the backup generator. And the backup generator is set for arrival sometime in February. Again, it's still set, it's on a boat, it's gonna come. But I don't want to put that proverbial stake on the ground until it actually shows up. Okay, so project completion's at 98%. Yes, I'm chomping at the bit just to submit that occupancy permit, but I already know ahead of time that it's not gonna get approved because we have those things being held up. Okay, so that's the outside. The interior works, tiles are laid. Next slide, please, Ms. Audrey. The interior works are all, again, 98%. Walls are painted. You have the fire protection has already been tested. The HVAC works. Fans work. Did I say tiles? Yeah, floor tiles have been installed. So it's ready for occupancy, but not ready for the permit for occupancy. Okay, we're very close. Yeah, we're very close. Next slide, please. And so what I'd like to do before I go actually into the RAA is to give you a feel, a taste of what this RAA really means, how it ranks against certain projects. right? And so the original contract award
Meeting is being recorded.
was at 1.16 million. Now, why is that? Why is it at 1.16 million? There was a notice of intent to award, which is page 21 of 26. And the project was originally awarded at 1.16 million because there wasn't enough. The funding had to be broken up into two places, into two pieces. Eventually, the project was made whole at 2.35 million. That was the bid price. That was a bid amount for Inland Builders to build this whole project was at 2.35 million. That's why you have the adjusted contract award amount. It's not that we had to do a change order of any sort, just that the funding was cut up into two phases, right? Change order number one, is you can find that in page 24, 26 of your packet. That was set at 217,660, which then resulted to an adjusted contract amount of 2.567. That is found on page 23 of 26 of your packet. Okay, the RAA, which is right in front, which is what's ahead of you, which is at 475,000, referencing the Inland Builders letter, and which will result to a 3 million adjusted contract amount, 3,043,268. It's up on the screen. So before I go any further, and I wanted to show you what does it mean to have and to execute this REA, this request for equitable adjustment, because you're saying, Sonny, that sounds like a big deal. That's a big number, 475,000. Well, what I'd like to show you is a comparative, to do a quick comparative by using the KPI of square foot, right? Dollar per square foot, as you can see on your chart up there. For a contract amount, dollar per square foot at 7,618 square feet. This is what the project is slated at. It's about roughly $308. You will not see $308 anymore. That was set back in 2019. No percent change. After the RAA, the percent change is going to come out to roughly 30%. Okay, 30% in the change, which is collared. We, as in the team A&E, made sure that we collared this price to 30%, a 30% change. I know 20% is like a change order limit threshold and all that, but as you will see later on when I start talking about the project progress, you will see how we were able to get it and keep it kind of stuffed into its 30% box. Okay. Now, what I issued out to you is an article from the Mariana's Business Journal, just recent, as a matter of fact, December 19, 2023. I apologize for those folks online. I did not put it up there. I know I'm going to hear it back from Commissioner Frank and Commissioner John saying, hey, don't you have an MBA? Don't you know how to do your sources? Nonetheless, okay, it's an MBJ article, December 23rd for the University of Guam. And it states there how the current prices are right now. And on the flip side of that paper that I had given you, commissioners, you can see there's a quote there from how the older 2019 prices were at $250 a square foot and are now at 508 square feet. So what I did was I did a comparative. Okay, a comparative. If we had canceled this project, if we had canceled it and rebid it, this would be like an estimate of how much GHURA would have to pay if it was at $500 a square foot. And roughly it'd be at $3.8 million for the same project. Okay, 3.8 million. Given the School of Engineering cost increase at 46.3%, the square footage is roughly at $451 a square foot. Still a good deal, right? Still a good deal because we're getting our completed building at $400 a square foot. Okay, for the Student Center, okay, Student Center, which is a 52%.
This meeting recorded.
Yeah, which is a 52% cost increase. It's set at $470.96 a square foot. Still a good deal. We're still getting a good deal at $400 a square foot. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is that those two projects yet to be built. University has yet to start building them. They had a groundbreaking December 10th, and they've yet to run into their problems. And usually, if there's anything about running projects, we're going to run into change orders, and those numbers are going to go up. So I just wanted to give you a feel, that we were able to successfully keep the costs down as much as possible. Again, you're not going to see $300 a square foot commercial construction costs, right? So now let's move on ahead, please. So I can, Ms. Audrey, next slide. Okay, I'll talk quickly but succinctly for each of the sections of the RAA for labor, materials, and bond insurance costs. Now, before I go into each category there, I want to share with you why we proceeded with the project. Now, these are they're calling the decision drivers, right? That's found on the last page of your REA letter. Was there an opportunity to terminate this contract? Yes, there was. Mr. Reynold, oh gosh, what's his last name?
Del Carmen.
Del Carmen, thank you. Referenced a conversation that we held with then Director Rachel Posna, and he made an offer to terminate this project for convenience. And at that time, and as many times that we talked together, give us the opportunity to just cut this project. But because of these things underneath it, the decision drivers, we decided to proceed. Okay. And one of them was, of course, the caliber of the contractor. Not all contractors are the same. And we consider the contractor's caliber. They built the Holiday Inn, they built the Dusit, and they also built the Guam Museum. So it's not about contractor qualification. They are qualified. And these are multi-story buildings. The Women's Treatment Center is a story and a half. That's what I call it. It looks like
Comparison.
Yeah, by comparison, right? Okay. We also took into consideration the ongoing DoD buildup, right? Because we know already ahead of time that there's going to be anticipated limitations, resource limitations, or I call them resource grabbing, right? So the contractor, inland, labor, as far as labor goes, if you're going to do H2, you need barracks. They have barracks. They were also experiencing getting H2s. So, okay, one check. Equipment, they have a lot of hard assets already, backhoes, cranes, et cetera, et cetera. So I didn't have to worry about that. Material storage, they have a bonded warehouse available. So we considered that too at the time. So that's why we moved forward. But I think the biggest one was community impact. Because this project, I mean, again, I'm not trying to put down the gymnasiums or even the police precincts, but this project has life transformation effects. You know, you have counselors coming in, counseling women who are troubled, who have issues, and their lives change. So this is something that we'd like to see, we wanted to see happen. And now 98%, we're almost there. And so those were the decision drivers why we chose to proceed with the project 2 years ago. And yes, there was a lot of pain involved because of the COVID and all those other things. Nonetheless, let's go ahead. Next slide, please, Ms. Audrey. Okay, labor increases. Now, the only way would we have not proceeded with this project is if Governor Liu did not support the H2 workers. We had approached Governor Liu sometime, I think it was July of 2020, August of 2020. We went in along with Executive Director, now Napoli, along former Director Ray, contractor, myself, and a bunch of others. We asked Governor Liu if she would support the H2 effort, and she did. She provided a support letter, governor's support letter, February 22nd, 2021. JRM, we received the JRM support letter February 18, 2022. That was included in the NDAA, and the H2 arrived December of 2022. So with all that shortened, most of the project progress ran from January 23 to December 23 from 10% to 95%, now 98%. So that was when most of the project progress occurred, was just last year, 2023. You know, a lot of the costs or all of the costs were involved was to import and to keep the H2 workers. The third one, local workforce increases, that's because the local workforce needed superintendents, heavy equipment operators, and there was one more job category that needed to be local. Unfortunately, they kept running away. And so Mr. Del Carmen had to pay the additional cost to keep. And again, this is not new news. I think this is what we're running into.
Just to clarify, so when the cost increased, these were a result of the overall delays caused by government actions.
Yeah.
We're not authorized to just pay
That's correct.
Contractor increase in cost, because this was a fixed term price contract.
Yes, sir.
So it's because of government actions. And again, that's what's in their main letter, how they're supporting what government actions caused their cost to increase.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to re-clarify that
Yeah,
again.
You're right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. And let me say it again. It's found on page 1 of their REA letter. They're referencing many of the executive orders. And also, I think that March 2020. Yes, sir. Yeah, limitation. It was like a limitation.
I think that's one important one to mention too. I think to provide clarity, because it's not only COVID. If you want to just highlight
Oh, yes, sir.
with the board and the public.
Yes, sir. I will do that.
Okay.
Okay, so for late, but I'll go back to the labor increases. So that first amount for 162,000, that is for bringing in H2 workers, because when COVID shut down, when COVID limited government operations, it also caused the building permit delay from March to, goodness, I think it was 18 months later. Mr. Ray makes a statement there. It took 14 months for a building permit to be fully approved. So of course, during that time, you can't be paying your workers for standing wage. Correct. Okay, so that's at 162,000. Again, this project would not have happened if Governor Liu didn't approve or show her support for H2 workers, because that's the only way to keep the prices down at 30%. Okay, next one, please. Ms. Audrey. Okay, for material increases, okay, GHURA gave Inland Builders an NTP of over at September 2021. This is near where we had a business risk and said, okay, we're just going to award it for now. Hopefully JRM will approve it. And they did, because we were positive that it was going to go through. But nonetheless, there were increases in concrete and openings. Now, again, this is because of our DOD buildup. Much of the materials were going to in the fence projects. So of course we had to again fight for materials. Now, Division 8 openings, that deals with windows and aluminum doors. Now you're probably thinking, well, Sonny, why couldn't we just order them before the shutdown or during the shutdown? Well, we couldn't order them until the building permit was approved. And that is the common practice. There was one time that I assumed the responsibility while I was at the University of Guam. Tell this story all the time. Because I'm a PE, I can make that decision, but I made a mistake because Waterworks and I didn't agree on a certain thing, and they basically said no. And there was a big bill that the university had to pay for my decision. So lesson learned. I even talked to Kathy about that one time. I said, Kat, if you're willing to take that risk, and she outright refused. So she said, no, we'll just wait for the building permit. And because we waited for the building permit, prices started going up because we couldn't place the order for the aluminum doors. So that's for material costs. Difficulty locating interested vendors. At that time, vendors were putting limitations. If you order, you need to pay up one week later. You want to order, to keep your order, you need to pay cash.
What was the percentage that they required upfront?
Some of them required full payment. Yeah, some required full payment. So of course, that was again a result of waiting until the building permit was approved. So again, if you didn't put your money down, they said, sorry, we got others who are waiting in line. Passing of the A&E designer of record. related to my story earlier, Andy Laguardia, Andy Laguardia was the designer of record for this project. Now, it's always procedure that before we place an order or before the contractor can place an order, that it goes to his team of architects and engineers to review and approve. Then they become responsible. It's called responsible control. What I did for the university one time was I assumed responsible control, which means that if I make a mistake, if the building permit doesn't get approved because of me, then it's my problem. And so we ended up having to, of course, make sure that process was followed. When Andy Laguardia had passed away, we ran into some submittal review issues because his team, I'm saying dissolved, that's not the right word, but they were having problems with the leadership at the time. And so we ended up running into delays in material approval. Now, again, much of the material orders GHURA could have assumed responsible control, but we didn't want to. So we pursued and made sure that Andy's team was still whole, or at least I started identifying who on the team were the approvers. And that took time. And as you can see in their letter, sometimes it was almost a year long.
I mean, sorry, I'm translating your engineer talk, regular people talk.
Please.
So,
Trying to process all.
okay, so Laguardia was the designer of record.
Right.
Hired by GHURA.
Right.
So even though they could have done it, we paid government funds for Laguardia to be the designer of record and
There
to
you
be
go.
the responsible party. Therefore, it still stayed with them.
Yes,
And so, that still constitutes a delay or caused by us because the contractor was waiting for our contractor
right.
to do their part.
That's correct.
Therefore, that burden falls on us because we contracted with the designer on that. Versus others where you may see a design and build contract where it's all in one. This was a separate designer, separate builder
Yes, sir.
type deal. And so the burden for that, those inefficiencies because of the event and that delayed the contractor was GHURA's fault. Ultimately, it was GHURA's problem to resolve. Therefore, it was our fault. Therefore, equity.
Okay.
Out that, yeah.
No, thank you, Mr. Director. See, tag team. All right. So the next one is structural steel. Now, this is timely or opportune because when COVID had come in and delayed many things, inland builders had lost their order for the structural steel. And at first, it was a structural steel from China. It was a Chinese vendor. And so when Ray and I had started talking, I, for one, am a Buy American type of person. And so if you can see on, I think it was there was a certain page that I think it was page 16 of 26. You can see the effects of even BABA compliance, where the order from China was 26,000 or 22,000. The new order from the American source is 80,000. So you can see that the price difference is quite large, right?
How's the quality? Excuse me.
It's still the same, sir.
Is it really?
Yes, it's ASTM. There's a certain standard that they have to follow. But even the Chinese steel was used in Dusit. So, I'm sorry, Chinese steel, but manufactured in Great Britain. Yeah. Okay. So as far as material increases go, there was that 80,000 as a result of them losing their order from China. Okay. And by the way, this was the only vendor that was available at the time. I said, just take it. Because if they don't, then we probably have to wait again. Yeah, wait again for a while. Right? So the last one are the bond increases. Next slide, please, Ms. Audrey. Okay, there we go. So when inland builders first started the project, they had a performance bond. When we had stopped the project or ran into our COVID issues, they lost their bond and of course had to restart the process of getting the bond. And the cost here was for that process of restarting the bond again. Because there were some companies, I think their first bonding company didn't want to bond them or something like that. I know Mr. Reynolds is online. Can you, can you speak a little bit there or?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Sunny.
Yes, we see you, Mr. Ray.
Hi. So basically on the bond was our original bonding company had when the project was bid out, they had committed to providing a bond for this project. Unfortunately, when COVID happened, and some of the bond requirements was capital requirements. So when COVID happened, we were not able to provide those capital requirements because, with COVID happening and the uncertainty, especially from, with the tourism, some of our capital contributions were tourism related. Again, inland builders didn't have any ongoing projects at the time. We had to let go of all our workers because we had no other projects at the time. So they were not able to honor their commitment or provide the commitment for the bond. So we basically had to jumpstart the bond process, which is a little extensive. So we were fortunate enough to find the local, which is Cassidy's. Unfortunately, their bond fees were a little higher. And really, without the bond, we could not start, this project would not be realized. So fortunately, after a few months, we were able to meet their bond requirements. Usually, test on the reliability, past performance, financial stability of our company. But it just came at a higher bond premium. So that was basically the reason for the cost increase.
Thank you, Ray.
Sure.
So that is each category under the REA, so for labor, material increases, and bonds. So that concludes that part of my presentation. And just to give you a quick picture, last picture there. Thank you, Miss Audrey. That's the concrete sewer encasement that we're waiting for the concrete delivery right now. And once that's done, we can then possibly do the occupancy permit, right, Ray?
That's correct. Once the concrete encasement's done, then we'll be able to put up our fence, fix up, the remaining site works, and of course the generator. Of course, we have to pour the roof, but really, until everything's complete, the government agencies won't even come out to inspect, because if they do, they'll just say you can't apply because everything's not done. So. But I just heard from the manager that we have a tentative schedule for the 18th of this month for the concrete. So we'll see, hopefully that'll push through from Hawaiian Rock.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Del Carmen. Thank you, Sunny. Deputy, thank you for the abridged version as well.
Translation.
Deputy, one last request, just for our audience online. If you could just reiterate the difference between a change order and an equitable adjustment.
Yes, a change order occurs when we're changing the order, changing the scope, right? Either amending something or adding something to it or taking away. That's going to cause a change in the contract price, either up or down. This is usually a government initiated action or sometimes based on recommendations provided by the contractor on what they're seeing. But to simplify, it's something that's not otherwise covered in the scope. And so we're ordering as the owner of the project, the financer, we're ordering the change. And that comes with, again, increase or decrease. Equitable adjustment is a request by the contractor, and it's initiated by the contractor because of a change in the contract price, no change in the scope. And this is caused by a couple of different things. One is, for example, differing site conditions, right? We tell them, hey, you're gonna come out here and it's all soft ground. And then they come in and start digging in and it's all solid rock, right? And, you know, even though it's a fixed firm price, they have a right to equitable adjustment because the site conditions aren't what we proposed and maybe we didn't even know. Another example would be we are paying them to upgrade a sewer line. And based on the math, the sewer line is there or the water line. We've actually experienced this with another project. And so when they go, they start digging and it's just not there. It was maybe removed a decade ago and, you know, the maps are out of date. And so their costs will increase to do that. So that might be a change order and equitable adjustment. In this case, in this particular case with the equitable adjustment, because of the general government policies regarding COVID, like the shutdowns and things like that, not just local, right? Not just GHURA, not just local, but even federal, that will cause, impede their ability to complete the contract caused by government action, then they have a right to request for equitable adjustment, of which we validate their claim that the government caused an increase and what that increase is going to be. And that's what the document demonstrates here. Yeah, and this happened a lot throughout COVID with a lot of different contracts. Yeah.
Thank you, Dee. Appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions on our equitable adjustment?
So my question is that we do have the funding available, right, in the CDBG grant for this increase? Yeah.
Yeah. And they're here.
They're both here.
They can confirm.
Right there. I just wanna, okay.
No, we wouldn't approve it if the funds weren't available, right? I'd have to figure something else out and look at different options, but wouldn't be this.
So we're looking at a completion date of April, right, Sonny?
Possibly, sir.
Okay, tentatively.
Tentatively.
And that would include occupancy.
Yes, sir.
Meaning,
Okay, that's
like, yeah, it's open for business.
Yes, right. We are looking forward to that. Commissioners online, have any questions for Mr. Del Carmen or Mr. Sonny?
No questions.
I don't have any questions. I'm good.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Here's one.
Chief, any questions on your side?
No, you know what? It's a comprehensive delivery. So it's not pretty. I don't like it, but I think we gotta approve it.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Rice?
No, it's good. Like the chief said, it's a very comprehensive presentation. Supporting documents are there, and conditions have been proven through local mandates directed by the governor's office through executive orders, and everything, all our ducks are in order.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Rice. All right, with that, I want to say thank you to Sonny and your team. Mr. Del Carmen, thank you for the work that you and your team have done as well. And Deputy Director, thank you again for iterating in English for all of us and for those. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to approve equitable adjustment. You're on.
I will make a motion to approve equitable adjustment number 1, IFB number GHURA 09-26-2019-CDBG, construction of the Lighthouse Recovery Center for Women in Teason in the amount of $475,608.67, which will increase the contract amount to $3,043,268.67.
Thank you, Commissioner Delia. May I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Corpus. I'm gonna take a vote, please. Show of hands, or say aye. Get the numbers. 1, 2, 3.
Commissioner
Aye.
Rice. Oh, he said
Yeah.
verbal.
Verbal aye. All right. that's
Verbal
5
aye.
votes. Thank you, Commissioner Rice. It's 5 votes. The motion passes. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Number 4, resolution number FY 2024-005. Resolution updating GHURA's travel policy. Madam Director, floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Resolution to repeal and misspelling there, should say reenact GHURA's travel policy. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority, GHURA, is empowered by 12 Guam Code annotated subsection 5104E to adopt policies providing for the internal organization and management of the authority and for the administration of its affairs and operations. And whereas GHURA recognizes that official off-island travel from time to time is necessary to promote staff development, improve agency efficiency, and pursue strategic objectives consistent with its mission. And whereas GHURA's current travel policy and procedures were established in 2003, adopted in resolution number FY03-067, and further amended through resolutions FY06-049, FY06-055, FY2019-016, and whereas GHURA is considered a non-federal entity, NFE, whose operations are funded through federal grants and programs subject to conditions outlined in federal law, regulations, and rulings, and whereas 2 CFR 200, the Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for Federal Awards, hereafter known as the Uniformed Guidance, provides GHURA the basis for its travel policy and procedures, superseding OMB Circular A-87. And whereas the Board of Commissioners of GHURA has determined the need to consolidate previous travel policies and update as necessary in a manner consistent with the Uniformed Guidance and GHURA's mission, now therefore be it resolved that the GHURA Board of Commissioners hereby rescinds travel policies and procedures adopted in resolution number FY03-067 and amended through resolutions FY06-049, FY06-055, and FY2019-016, and that it be further resolved that any preceding travel policies not otherwise rescinded herein shall be replaced with this travel policy, hereinafter known as the 2024 travel policy, and that it be resolved that the GHURA Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the provisions provided, hereinafter known as the 2024 travel policy. Number 1, travel policies and procedures must promote transparency and prudence. Number 2, travel policies and procedures shall apply to the GHURA Board of Commissioners, employees, legal counsel, consultants, and or GHURA residents who travel on behalf of the authority. Number 3, all travel must be related to or on behalf of GHURA. Number 4, travel shall be in the best interests of GHURA. Number 5, all travel expenses funded through federal grants and/or programs shall conform to requirements and cost principles required under 2 CFR 200. Number 6, travel funded by local funds shall conform to all local laws, regulations, rules, and guidance. Number 7, travel advances and/or reimbursements shall be reasonable and necessary in the course of authorized travel and shall be processed in accordance with standard operating procedures. Number 8, travel shall not exceed budget authorizations unless previously approved by the Board of Commissioners. Number 9, all travelers within 10 working days from the day of return to work shall submit an itemized statement of account that shall be prescribed in the standard operating procedures. Number 10, travel expense reports shall be reported to the Board of Commissioners. Number 11, respective of individual or group travel on official business off island, a trip report shall be made and presented to the Board of Commissioners in a regular board meeting, and that it be resolved that the executive director shall develop, approve, and publish standard operating procedures enacting the 2024 travel policy, and that it be further resolved that the 2024 travel policy shall be effective immediately. And we do have, if you would like a copy of the 2024 travel policy, you just need to let us know and we will provide you a copy, but it will be uploaded on our website as well. If you have any questions.
Standard operating procedure, SOP. Yeah, so they're produced and we'll put them on our website and they'll be available here for inspection as well. And it basically supports these 11 items. It's just more of the details on how do you request for travel and procedural, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Director. Going back to the beginning of your reading, Director, you said something needed to be corrected grammatically.
Yeah, up on the top where in bold resolution, I think it should say resolution to repeal and reenact. I believe that's an REENACT, right?
To repeal and
Resolution to repeal
and reenact.
Reenact.
Okay, conjunction
and add to appeal. Sorry, didn't notice that.
No, not at all.
If I may, one more minor one.
Sure.
Under the third resolution, item 2 of the policy, just an indentation, one to the left, I think was it's a minor fix. Yeah, an added space.
Just for consistency.
For consistency.
Thank you. Yeah, we're grammar Nazis.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry, excuse me, that will be available when, Didi?
With
the online, that's available now.
We can, once you have the new travel policy,
sure.
The SOP has already been written. You know, unless you have any amendments to the resolution, was written towards the policy items in here.
Right.
To be consistent. So if the board approves it today, ED can sign the procedures and then we can post it on our website today.
Nice. Okay.
It'd be effective, the procedures will be effective from when she signs it.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Inquiries?
Yes.
Nothing.
Am I passing it?
Yeah, we're just gonna keep looking.
So are we making a motion?
Yes, we are. If there's no any questions, excuse me, if there's no further questions or any questions, excuse me, from our commissioners online.
Or any questions about the procedures?
Or yeah, if there's any.
There were some changes there. I could share if they're interested.
Right. So to reiterate what our deputy mentioned, that ostensibly, once we approve this, the procedures and all the intricacies of the process itself, the SOP, all of that good stuff will be available online today.
If the board approves this today, if the ED signs, we can have it uploaded today.
Okay, perfect. Okay, if I'm not having, excuse me, if we don't have any other questions, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion.
I will make a motion to pass resolution number FY 2024-005. It's a resolution to repeal and reenact GURA's travel policy.
As amended.
As amended.
Perfect. Can I get a second on that, please?
Second that motion.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we take the vote, please. Show of hands or aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you, commissioners. Got 5 votes. Motion passes. Thank you with the amendment pending.
Very good.
All right, moving along. Item number 5, Executive Director's Report. Number 1, project updates.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Nate. So the most important thing that I wanted to mention today, that so that we can give more time for the division updates that are next, is that today we are pleased to announce that GURA signed the closing documents for the purchase of the 198 Ariarte Street facility, which is going to be the drop-in shelter for the homeless. So we were very happy to finally sign the closing documents and make payment to the owner. So that's very exciting news for us. It will go through a rehabilitation process, but it's really a very exciting moment for us because that facility is really important, especially after Mawar. If you have any questions, we do have Kathy in the room with you, but we're excited about the acquisition. And other than that, we can move on to the division updates, which I think you will really appreciate from Kathy's RP&E section.
Where is this located?
Jody? Accessible, I mean, well, I mean, it's public record anyway, so it's behind near Hoffaday Exchange.
Hoffaday, the old Hoffaday
No, Hoffaday Theaters.
Yeah,
Near
on
Yard
that
Street.
side.
Oh, on that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's access to the main road for people to walk in, but not, you know, so public because it is a shelter.
I'm sorry, Susan. All right, thank you, Madam Director. Division updates, number 2.
I will defer to Kathy Titano for the presentation on her division.
Thank
you, Madam Director.
You don't go first?
Oh, Lord, I was done.
Your project update?
Yeah.
You snuck in there. Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners. We're going to start with the presentation for the CDBG program. Audrey, thank you, dearie. Great. Thank you. So we're going to do this briefly because of what it is we wanted to give you a bit of a background on the program that one of the programs that our PME is charged with upstairs. Today it's the CDBG program. Next slide, Audrey, please. And where best to start than a little bit of history. Back in the 60s, urban renewal was what was HUD's first foray into one. And through those efforts in the early days of GURA, were constructed the Sinahanya proper, the neighborhood, village, and Zonia. you're gonna see my staff coming in, since we're gonna do CDBG, we wanted to put some faces to the division. In the 70s, the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 created the CDBG program, which the insular areas were brought in and a part of from, in Guam's case, about 1982. That's when the insular areas started. Back in 2005, before 2005, we were in the same pool as the rest of the nation, when it came to monies that came into the program. In 2005, it was made arranged that a Section 106 was a set aside for the insular areas, wherein they would share a $7 million pool of funds among the 4 insular areas. That would be the Guam, the CNMI, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and America and Samoa. And so that leads to our present day, which is that the census population data for each of our jurisdictions is the ratio for which we share that $7 million pot of CDBG. Okay. Next slide, please, Odd. We are governed by many rules. These are just 4 of them, but they are significant. Part 570, 24 CFR is the HUD umbrella on the Code of Federal Regulations, and Part 570 is for Community Development Block Grant. Everything that we do with respect to HUD funds under CDBG are subject to Part 58, which is that the grantee, the local government of Guam, has assumed HUD environmental responsibility for making sure that we are compliant with all our HUD environmental rules. And to that end, we have no fewer than 3 and growing number of staff who've been educated, who've taken training and education for that. And Dominic Cabo is here. He is one of our trained, and another one is in the CD section and another in the AE section, so the engineer. All of our procurement and all of our administrative costs and stuff and whatnot are governed under 2 CFR 200, which is what used to be under an OMB circular, but now have been codified as uniform administrative requirements, cost principles, and requirements for federal awards under the Code of Federal Regs. And the overall process of how we select projects and how we engage our community is under 24 CFR Part 91, which is the Con Plan Submissions and Community Planning and Development Programs for CPD programs. Next screen, before we start getting into all the other regs, because that could take up a whole legion of time. So I wanted to give you an idea of how the funding gets to GHURA. Out of congressional appropriation to HUD, the United States Congress identifies an amount of monies at the macro level for the CDBG program. To its CDBG, HUD then funds that $7 million pot, for which the government of Guam is the grantee recipient of funds. It is the governor herself who is the chief, the highest elected official of the jurisdiction that receives these funds. She has, or her, the governor of past, and as she continues, has granted GHURA the authority to administer those funds on behalf of the government of Guam. And so we are constructed to do local program administration. Next screen, please. To give you an idea of how funds on Guam are used, CDBG is generally broken up into after about 20% is set aside for admin and planning for our in-house operations, mostly in-house operations. 15% is the mandated maximum for public service activities. That leaves 65% for everything else. for anything else that we do. Typically, that has been, historically, that's been brick and mortar. But it could be infrastructure, and it's still, there's still that element of it, but it also can be things like economic development or micro enterprise or other things, but just the set aside was for public service at a maximum, and the maximum of 20% for admin and planning for our own operation. Next slide, please. For FY 2024, the CDBG program received Guam received $3,185,755 for CDBG activities. And what you see on the left there is how we split the funding. Those are those maximums, or under those maximums that we were authorized for. But I can tell you, every time we will max that 20% for admin and planning. There's a lot of, you'll see for the rest of it, there's
For
quite a
all
bit
the headaches.
by far. Next screen, please. Everything we do must fulfill a CDBG national objective, and there are only 3. Our activities have generally been under the category of to benefit low and moderate income individuals or households. Very frequently, we build lots of community facilities. We even the public services that we run are intended to fulfill the mandate of helping somebody who is at an income qualified or condition qualified, presumed income, lower income category. Less frequently, we have addressed areas to prevent or eliminate slum and blight. And very infrequently have we reached into the urgent need pot. Urgent need generally requires the serious devastation and normally a presidentially declared emergency. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give you an idea of what some of a very long list of eligible activities that we handle under CDBG. In some cases, we call it the we don't, we will take it back and let's see. It's always a let's see, because it's always about being the last money's eligible or possible. But we are able to do things like acquire real property, and to that we, as the director said, we've just acquired the Mauar homeless shelter. Mauar because we're trying to address the needs of those that are still impacted by the storm. And that was a facility. The Central Precinct Command, the land it sits on is GHURA land, and we hold that. We still have enough land up there to do one other project with, which was our initial intent, and will still be fulfilled. Facilities construction, Sunny's Women's Residential Treatment Center, which will go online with Salvation Army this year as Gumat Famalaon. So that is in the facilities construction. They had the land. Then in the case of the iLearn Academy Charter School, which was a 108 program, that was also construction. It's not our construction, but it was partially funded through our efforts. Public services, we have for many years funded the Family Service Center out of the Salvation Army, who provides emergency, they actually manage the Emergency Solutions Grant for us. And more recently, a program called the Opportunity Initiative that is operated by Manetlu. Rehabilitation, we are going to have to rehabilitate the Mauar shelter. So those are eligible costs. And we have, for a building just acquired recently, a 4-plex apartment building, we will be doing rehab on that one as well to bring them online for rental housing. Housing construction, we have supported. We can't do actual housing construction directly, but we can support it. And so we did so with infrastructure improvements on-site in Ironwood, off-site for Ironwood Manor, and on-site for Second Bonita and Manila years ago. And then the planning and admin operations, planning and admin monies we do use for our costs, but we on occasion will actually share those with our subrecipients as well for eligible needs. Next screen, please. There are also no-fly zones for HUD with respect to CDBG. They are just absolute no. We will never be able to fund buildings or portions thereof used for the general conduct of government. We cannot pay for government expenses, nor anything that has a political activity tilt to it, which interestingly enough also includes when a party decides to do voter outreach or voters registering voters, it's still not allowed. The supplanting of other funds, we do very hard research to ensure that we are the last available funds for whatever organization is trying for it. Because supplanting is not allowed. As I said before, no new housing construction and no purchase of movable equipment, generally speaking. HUD does not like to fund things that can walk away. So if it's bolted down, they're great and happy, and we're happy enough to go that way. Public services is an exception because we actually monitor those projects on a very long-term basis, and they keep track of it for us. But those are generally ineligible. Next screen, please, Odd. And then this is my little homage to the staff, because we have RP&E has a staff of 10, and these are actually all the people that work upstairs in one way or the other. We all touch upon the CDBG program, because as you know, RP&E actually runs several other programs. We have a 3-person fiscal unit. Jericho Garcia is here now. He's our general accounting supervisor. He's our senior fiscal person. I have 2 of our planners here. We have Alicia Uggan, who's been sitting next to me, a planner, and Francesca across the way. All of a sudden, I'm nervous because they're here. And Dominic Calvo, who is our program coordinator. He's one of our Enviro guys. He also runs the LIHTC program. Next screen, please. Just to touch on the goals for 2024. Many of them are inward focused, but at the top of that list is timeliness. We are mandated to maintain no more than 1.5 times. I want to say 2. I think we were at 2. Yes, I'm sorry. I pulled this, but this is a different standard. The insular areas have to maintain a 2 times threshold, maximum of any of what we have available in any given year. So if we roughly say $3 million a year, we can have an unexpended balance of no more than $6 million, roughly. And it's been a challenge with COVID and more recently with malware, but we've been chipping away at that issue, and hope to be within timeliness by the time it's measured next, which is at the beginning of August 2024. And it's critical, it's important, and we are in weekly contact with the director and deputy director on our efforts with it, and we are teamed at every week to make sure that we stay on top of what our efforts are to get that dollar moving.
Chime in on that real quick. So this requirement is, I don't want to say unique to GHURA, but I would say unique with the other agencies requiring federal funding. Many times with federal funds, they have obligation deadlines and then really long drawn out expenditure deadlines. For us, the timeliness puts a very hard expenditure deadline on us about every year or every other year, because it's, you have one big project or one delay on a forecasted big project, and it just snowballs. And that 1 year allocation could easily build up to that 2 year and put us at risk of losing these funds. So it's a constant race. It's a constant race, but we also want to make sure we're putting good work out there. So there's definitely challenges there, and I think unprecedented as before is one. Of course, there was COVID and all the delays from that, which we're still seeing. but the direct competition with all the other construction activities going on the island is very challenging, and lack of materials, like they're talking about, not having concrete, like that's something girls never had to face before, our contractors.
Our efforts also have always been to try and balance the expectation of what can be done within the year's time to
Yeah.
meet our timeliness. But the fact that costs for a normal, what used to be our normal threshold type of project, doesn't allow us the flexibility to fund as many as we like, so that we have that give and take time-wise. You know, somebody can lag behind, but another one is still moving. We are, thanks to the efforts of the staff working with, in concert with the A&E folks, in particular, we now know what the lifeline is, you know, what the timeline is to get a project from inception to completion. And it's not pretty. Many of those barriers, or those things that can hold us up are actually internal to the government of Guam, which is a challenge, because as the grantee, government of Guam is the grantee, the idea that we're in somehow contributing to our inability to do it is a challenge. Now, that doesn't even take into consideration the COVID issues and normal delays. So it's been an upward hill battle for years, several years, and now we we have our eyes. We've always had our eyes focused on it, but it's laser focused this year.
Let me put that in one more example. Sorry, I know we're
Please.
pushing time. We can't go to HUD and be like, sorry, we didn't finish on time. The permitting took really long. We can't go that. Sorry, the
14 months.
permitting took a year, 14 months, so we didn't spend. That's not gonna fly, right? In that instance, it's we did it to ourselves, because we're in CDBG, we're all Guam.
Yes.
So to put that in perspective, right, the Women's Center,
Mhm.
that was since 2019. We are now in 2024. How does that affect your funding? Right?
We have
Because
to
that's how
quickly
many
spend everything
years.
else.
Okay, so you just move the funds around. Is that what it is?
We
Or-
will.
Okay,
Well, we can't take them away from certain projects,
Correct.
you know?
okay.
And that means that when we can't take them away, we've got to stay committed, because as Sunny said, we didn't move to end that
Correct.
project. But then we start leaning really heavily on others. Now, having those others many times are other construction projects, which here's a surprise, they're all having issues.
Yeah.
Right? So
So it's not an isolated
it's
case.
it's not by any means isolated. Yeah, it is it's an ongoing challenge to see how well the staff can continue monitoring and moving payment request actions forward. But as it has been, as we wind up these projects and they are going to completion, we still have a few that are sitting in the wings. Now, we've also accelerated an opportunity. We're taking advantage of an opportunity. The acquisition of a shelter is not something we've ever been able to do.
Mhm.
A lot of times it's because we haven't had strong enough partnerships in the community. Well, oddly enough, thanks to COVID, we, and some other initiatives, that the COVID issue, but also initiatives as a result of that, some of those spaces have been filled, and now we have partners that are stronger. And our partners, they fall in and out on their own, because they have their strengths, they have their challenges. So we have to stay on top of them. And divisionally, we're doing it as a team. I mean, we're going after some of the larger issues in a very concerted, concentrated and group way to deal with.
Does the funding roll over though, from year to year?
Until it exceeds a certain amount,
Yeah.
then it's at risk.
Okay,
Yeah,
It
once
rolls, our funding in any given year, so the $3 million I
Right.
mentioned for 2020, FY 2024,
okay.
is actually available to us supposedly for 5 years is what they
Oh,
tell
got
us.
it.
So they say,
Okay.
GHURA, Guam, your project money is available to you for 5 years. You try not to take that timeline if you don't have to, because the next year gives you another $3 million. And every year, and all of a sudden I have $15 million. We try to plan our projects forward.
and by expenditure. So even if it's rolling over, saying, yeah, we're gonna spend it, it's coming, doesn't matter, it needs to be spent. So every invoice that the contractor provides, you know, draws that number down. So it's kind of a constant keeping your head above water.
So you can see a project that was originally started in 19.
Mhm.
Yep.
Didn't move in 20 or 21, moved in 22. No, well, 22 into 23. And, but, we were actually reliving our pain. Things like, I think some of the, elements that we couldn't get a full picture of until today. You know, I mean, you can't really see what the road was like until, how bad it was until you look back and go.
In
"Man,
hindsight,
tough."
yeah.
We like new construction, but right
Yeah.
now strategically, per the grants, it's the highest risk because of delays in
Delays.
Yeah.
construction, material in uncertainties, permitting,
Mhm.
All these moving
challenges.
parts. Yeah.
You know, so we used to always build, you guys are always building a new building, right?
Because we knew that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Of how much money a project would be. It had been that way for such a long time. And now now I'm looking at $450,000,
Like what Katie said,
$450,000 for a
it's a new
typical
precedent
house.
now.
and
So we
$450,000.
shifted, right? Acquisition, rehabilitation or renovation is
Yeah.
a bit lower risk, right? And we're still able to provide meet community goals, right? And
Right.
community needs, but
So the old model's gone. We have to.
Yes.
you know, hopefully
Yeah.
someday things will come down and we could, or, you know, maybe they look at an increase in funding or change the rules, but as of right now, new construction is just too much of a risk.
Mhm.
We lose these federal funds, no one's gonna care about any of that. They're gonna be knocking on our doors angry.
We will
Yeah.
we will cover some of the process questions in the next presentation, but
So now it just makes-
Rolling the dice on this.
Looking at the bigger picture and everything that we've done for the community, now it makes more sense in this presentation. Because I was always wondering, why are we doing more, right? Because we do get a lot of funding. And then when I look at what we actually get year on, I feel like that's little. That's a small amount, right, for a lot of the projects since I've been on the board as to what we've been doing. So now everything comes full circle. Okay.
If I may, so that's one of the reasons why I decided to have our divisions report at our board meetings as as soon as they can, because this was one of the things I wanted to show, and I'm glad both the deputy and Kathy spoke about the challenges that we've had the past several years. I mean, in 2019, it's like we were kind of like a star because there were so many projects that were being completed, but then COVID hit, and it really has been an uphill challenge for all of GHURA to try to expend the funds that we're supposed to expend to be in compliance, right, by August every year. And I really just want to take the time to commend the staff because it's a juggling act. We started a weekly update status meeting so that we can be on top of, okay, is this going to happen? Are we going to make it in time, or do we need to speak to HUD and ask them about, can we reprogram funding so that we can expend the funds, right? So it really is like a juggling act, and we try to stay on top of it. And unfortunately, there are some things that are beyond our control, but we try to work with it or work around it so that we can meet our timeliness. But I really do want to commend the staff for the challenges that they've been dealt, and that they continue to push forward anyways. I have them meet with me every week just about to go over all the different projects and the funding and where we're at. And sometimes it's like, I'm sure it's like, do we really have to do this? But they're very good about it. And changing our strategy so that we can be a little bit more successful with some of the projects and the activities that we would like to have. I know that there's one more presentation that we have, which is the strategic planning and grants management. But in consideration of the Board of Commissioners time, I will leave it up to you on whether you would like Kathy to proceed and finish off the next presentation, or if you want to table it and have it at the next board meeting. I will leave it up to you to decide. It's just 8 more slides.
Commissioners, thank you, Madam Director. Commissioners, do you have any concerns or reservations in terms of continuing, or are any of you time sensitive right now? Would you like to table this last part to our next board meeting?
I'm good until 2 p.m. That's my deadline, sorry.
I have no time constraints.
Okay, that's 2. Commissioner Corpus, Chief?
I'm okay with whatever you folks decide.
Perfect.
Yeah, likewise. I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
If we want to do it today, we can.
Miss Cat, the floor is yours.
He's like 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Audrey,
I think Kat can do it.
You gotta give us the.
Yeah, let's leave it up to Kathy.
you'll get the clip. You'll get the clip notes. Audrey, can you switch to the other presentation, please?
Sure thing. 1 second.
No, I don't. No. 8 slides.
I don't have that.
Miss Cat, also, I want to point out a wonderful presentation on the light program as well. I had some really good feedback on people who were, I guess, were clearly ignorant because, we don't, layman's terms, and a lot of people were like, women did an amazing job.
Oh, no, that was all written,
But
that
you and your
narrative
team,
was,
they were
yeah.
just thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted to point that out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank Don.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got strategic planning and grants management in a nutshell. This is, let's go to the next slide, please. So, the strategic planning, we do a 5-year strategic plan cycle. And this whole planning thing is one of those cradle to grave proposals to completions, so that we can inform our community of how these projects get in and out of our focus. What are our needs, our goals and objectives as a community, and how do we meet those needs, and how do we know we did it? So on this screen, you're going to see that we're going to start with a 5-year consolidated plan, wherein we identify those goals and needs and objectives, and we articulate that by projects under an annual action plan, which we run. The successes, challenges, I would never say failures because we learn from them, is reported in a report called the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or very simply the CAPER, to which HUD responds with their assessment of our efforts through a community assessment report. This is a discussion of strategic planning and grants management. So everything we do is focused on what we propose to do. We have lots of other reports that go in, including a annual home program, home investments. It's run by CD, annual performance report, as well as annual performance reports for all of our continuum of care activities. And then there are the periodic, Commissioner, you mentioned moving monies around. That's reprogramming monies to things that are moving better, moving quicker and more efficiently. We are also mandated to keep reports of our community, a planned citizen participation, how long things are published for and why we are doing that and how we intend to engage them and to reach them so they know what we're doing. And that we do an analysis periodically of our housing needs, including what stands in our way of fair housing and choice for people in the community who want to get houses and get services, and what are our barriers to affordable housing choice. All of those reports are kept on our website for the community to look at and to review. Next slide, please. The grant program specifically covered by the consolidated plan process are the entitlement grants that we receive of CDBG, Home, Emergency Solutions, which is ESG Emergency Solutions Grant, And the house, most recently, in the last 3 years, we've started to receive something called the Housing Trust Fund, which is a small amount of money, but is assisting folks at the very lowest level to receive rental housing. And it takes a while when the monies are not much higher than 100,000 at a time for us to know how to put it together to reach a project level that we can see something useful come out of it. The competitive grants for us are the continuum of care. Those are a series of grants. We receive maybe $1.5 million on an annual competitive basis if we're lucky, to help run programs that assist the homeless with, I'm going to say, disabilities. Yeah, so they are the recipients of those that are in the most need. And because of the timeline, we have received COVID CARES Act funding through the CDBG and ESG programs that were funneled from Congress into HUD. The same for the ARP, American Rescue Plan monies, which have gone under the umbrella of home, for which we have everything on that list has a separate plan of action that we need to hit. But they are reportable and recognized under the consolidated plan process. Next screen, please. This is our monster document. This is the consolidated plan. It is a living plan and document. We don't want to stick it on a shelf and say we'll never look at it again, because it's our projection of our needs for the next 5 years. And that 5-year timeline, lots of things can happen that we never anticipated. But if it's not in this plan, it doesn't get covered in any of our action plans. It wasn't an identified goal or need or objective. So it is a requirement of all grantees to put together a 5-year plan. And it's actually going to take quite a bit of research and analysis of what the entire Guam community is doing to meet our needs as a community, not just as GHURA, not just for HUD, but what we can do to insert ourselves into that community need to meet a need. Next screen, please. The annual action plan. That's the plan. It's all in the name. We need to identify to HUD and propose to them the activities that we want to fund and who we're going to use that funding for to meet those needs. It's not just about the Fed dollar, it's about all dollars. So Fed and non-Fed, any kind of resources that our partners can put in is actually a positive. We count it as leverage. So when Women's Residential has a spot, that's great. You know, they can actually, they have to let the site, that's helpful. Or if a program already exists in some way and they want to expand upon it to cover more people that are in our low income range, we're happy to talk to folks like that as well. And every time we talk about it, it's always a report to our community as much as it is a proposal to HUD. They don't stand in our way to say, we don't think that's your need. We've identified our needs in the con plan. This is our way of saying what we think needs to be done to meet that need. Next screen, please, Odd. This is the CAPER and the community assessment. They're together on the screen because CAPER is what we tell of our story of what we did in the last year with all of our funds. And we discuss what went right, what went wrong. It's really based on HUD has a template for how they want to receive our information, and we try to meet that. There's a few kinks still in the system, but it's not terrible as it used to be. Sorry, HUD. And then HUD responds with something called the Community Assessment Report, and that's where they come back and talk to us about what they believe they see from the data that we provide to them, and how beneficiary, did we really meet our goal to hit that beneficiary, and to make something better for the community, and what do they feel is still lacking, or what we do well. They do both. Next screen, please. These are just 3 of the reporting systems. HUD is great for trying to go online. HUD itself is fully paperless, and everything that we do these days seems to be reported in a system. The main 3 that come to our most everyday attention is IDIS, the Integrated Disbursement and Information System, which is where basically it's HUD's information system, and that's how we show them what we're up to. Then there's HEROES, which is the environmental review online system. No longer we get to upload that, and then we just have a better way to communicate with them. They see what we can upload and what's in their form. It makes life easier for us to track one another.
So transparency and communication.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and ease of that. No more did you get the mail?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. It's in the system.
Yeah. Everything's paper trail too.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, we value that system. But the last one is SAGE, HMIS, which is the Homeless Management Information System Reporting Repository. That's where our homeless information goes to, which would be great, except it used to be in IDIS. And now it's in its own space. And, one of the challenges is these don't all work together necessarily as well as we'd like them to. So, they all go bananas.
They're not
Everybody.
interface.
No, they're not.
They're not.
Not
That's
big. They were all, it's like.
You would ideally, you wish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some open till 12, some
On Tuesday.
yeah. Heroes, I thought they were open all the time. No, they're not. Maybe they are. I didn't get to put some other ones in here that when we used to run Cap Fun. They have some funny ones too.
Funny acronyms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next screen, please. This is the 8th screen, Commissioner. Our calendar for 2024 is, I really wanted to give you an idea of what we're working on, because to be fair, we're always working on more than one report at any given time. Not only is the staff working on their regular reporting for quarterly or annual for their own respective programs, but as an umbrella, we as a team have to create these reports. So the annual action plan for 2024, which is due in October 2024, we will be working on it like yesterday till July when it has to be turned in. It has a submission deadline of August. And that submit 45 before start of next program year or fiscal year, that's the mandate. That's in the regulation. The CAPER 2024 is really from the previous year. So we will be not only are we looking forward, but we're looking backwards. So that happens after the year begins. So that will be created between October and submitted, and between October and December, submitted in December. Worst time in the world. But even they go on holiday. Everybody's playing and we're writing reports. The plan, the consolidated plan for 2025, and the next one is for 2025 to 2029, is actually a dual submission, because the action plan for the first year is due at the same time the full 5-year proposal is due.
Yes.
And we're starting the research. We've started the research really since we start gathering our resources from as early as we can, so that we can know what the community is up to. Different agencies have state plans. Waterworks has a northern plan and a southern, and we want to see what those all are up to. Parks and Public Works will know where the developments are going to go up, and we'd love to figure out what the land trust properties are going to be, available for, if anything. So that has started. That submission is August 2025, but believe me, it's already it's like mid-burner. Yeah.
That's the big one to watch out for.
Mhm.
Not really much amending of that one, and if you
Yes.
want to do anything, it has to be
So-
in that 5-year plan.
Here's
Be
how.
stuck to it.
Yes, this is how we had a consult with HUD. By the way, not only do we meet with our bosses on a weekly basis, we meet HUD on a monthly basis online. We have a very, very flexible relationship with our HUD representative out of HUD, and that's extremely appreciated, because it doesn't help if you can't get connected with them to ask your questions. But that, where was I going? No idea.
Con plan is important.
The con plan is important. We're gonna change it up this year because we recognize how difficult it is to plan our projects, because we don't know what they are until they're proposed. We are going to address this by going to the community and saying to them that we're changing up the game. We are going to name projects, actual projects
Sure.
to fund and then slide them into the calendar. And that's our intention for the 5-year period. That way we can get a jump start on those that have long lead times.
So we can beat the time,
So we
set a
can,
new precedent.
yeah, as best we
As
can.
best we can.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you very much. I forgot to put a thank you screen on this one.
Well, thank you.
Thanks you guys for joining us down here.
Ms.
Thank
Kat, thank you to
you.
you and your team, especially the community development block grant. That was a very informative. Commissioner Delia really brought up a good point because, Chairman Rivera and I just got on the board, right? And, we're still acclimating. I mean, we're decent.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not decent. He's probably like fast paced, but at least I'm honest. But no, when I guess today's theme would be to thank you, Sunny and Dee Dee, for, Englishing it for us, and the community. And a special thanks to you and your team for, literally facilitating. We had no idea. We imagine what you and your team are going through on a daily basis, but now to hear it and see it, right? And what you're dealing with and all billions of moving parts at any given time, really thank you, right? And we look forward to this new precedence that you and your team are about to establish and implement.
This group is, I've told them and I meant it. This is the best group that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And they're quick. So I'm actually quite lucky to have this group. The progress we've made would not be possible if it weren't for these folks.
Absolutely. This is a
Pat yourselves
symbiotic.
in the back.
Yeah.
I look forward actually to seeing more on the home investment partnership grant. We don't see a lot of that or hear a lot of it, so I'm hoping that, later on down.
We're gonna have a brief next.
Yes.
There you go.
Because it provides homes, right, for our community.
Yeah,
so
and they have challenges, so that'll be
Yeah.
good for you to hear their report back
Okay.
to how.
Especially putting
I'm
out
hoping to
what,
see that.
exactly, especially putting out all the projects before they're right and getting the community feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
CD runs their own shop,
Yeah.
CD Community Development and Home is part of that. And they also have ARP money and HTF, but we're the planning side for them. So
Right.
there's never not a relationship between the CD, RP&E and A&E guy.
Right.
But we've been very lucky actually with our administration here downstairs to be able to push things when things just hit a wall. Never before if I.
You got the right muscle. Yeah.
One more action, so I need to vote on for the adjournment.
I was alluding to it. Yes. Now you're projecting. All right, Ms. Kat, thank you again for you and your to your team again. Is there anything in closing that you and your team would like to add?
No, however, and other than if you guys have ever any questions you'd like to ask us for or any more detailed briefings, please let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kat.
Yes, and we'll move on to item number 6, general discussion announcements. Next proposed scheduled board meeting Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024 at 12 p.m. here at the GHURA home office headquarters in Sinania. Our
Short agenda, I think it's just a couple items, ED. There'll be no division reports.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make one important announcement. I'm sorry. I almost forgot to mention that, we did have a confirmation hearing for our appointee, who is Victor Torres. And I've been checking to see when he's going to be voted on by the legislature, and they do have him on the agenda for this Thursday, January 11th session. So let's hope that they get through it all and he gets confirmed by the legislature, and then we'll have another board member.
And
So
Commissioner,
that was the last thing.
Right?
thank you, Chief. Too soon? Too soon?
But Frank's gonna stay on until we get our last, another one. Right, Frank?
We're taking this.
Commissioner. Anyways, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Director. We appreciate that.
Wow, 2 meetings in 1 month?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things we couldn't get on the announcement,
Okay.
right, to make the announcement time.
Yes.
That we really want to push for this month. So it'll be a short agenda. It might be single topic, ED. one, maybe two topics, that's it. And
Okay.
we'll keep it to that. No division updates, very lean.
Yes,
Very,
we promise.
You're fine,
Yeah.
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say, I could say, unless, well, depending on discussion from the board members, no more than 30 minutes, start to finish.
Okay, Ms. Cat, thank you
Yes.
for hitting the clock. Timeframe for our commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And to your team, Sunny, and your team, and can you please extend our gratitude to Mr. Carmen as well. Madam Director, Deputy Director, thank you again. May I get a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
All right, may I get a second, commissioners?
Second.
2:07.
Thank you, Commissioner Rice. That.
You need a vote.
Hey, guys.
Aye.
See ya.
Thank you, everyone.
Guys, I know. I got it,
See you
okay.
on the 23rd.
They all did.
Okay. I got my voice. Thank you. We are adjourned at 2:08. Thank you very much. See you guys.
But looks like 2 o'clock on my end.
I'll get to me now.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Kat.
Welcome.
Very good. Very good presentations.
I finally